Thought is the primary viscosity of light. That's paraphrasing Walter Russell, but it fits exactly into my work of Victor Levy of viscosity when you just place Walter Russell there. Beautiful. Because it shows that the I, 0 to the I squared, is the imagination. So the imagination, literally, what can you imagine? Can you imagine a better world, for example, than the one you're looking at? It's an experiment. Let's say we all decided to imagine a better world where we lived in truth, to imagine it really hard and to really believe in that was true, to see if it would come true. Testing Walter Russell's theory about the viscosity of thought, because it's a coalescence of intelligence. I believe that thought will coalesce around intelligence, a center of intelligence, and that intelligence is created in the atmosphere in which we live, in the ether that we don't see, of the force field that we breathe. When we breathe, we invert the transform. Let me build the model from the center again, then, from where I left off. So we've now got the Earth at the centroid. We have the Sun as the dilatancy as a whole in the major sphere, the 2 AU diameter sphere around us. The dot point of the Sun is 1 AU away, and it's a twin-centered shockwave. The Big Bang, which never goes off, it's so powerful that the force field stops the Big Bang going off because it's twin-centered, and that the surface is stronger than the center because it's twin-centered. So that the shock wave from the dilatancy of the Sun, that's a shock. A hole has been torn in the sphere, and that hole has been plugged with a lens, spherical lens, the drop there that we see rotating, plug in the hole. Now that sphere keeps turning and keeps rotating, so it's turning and it keeps rotating. It's never in the same place. It's always experiencing a new section of the sphere. The system keeps holding itself together. But as a powerful shock wave was created, it's created by that setup. And then so you see the heat of Mercury and then the light of Venus. But the light you see of Venus is the light that is coming from the Earth. So you're seeing 2 force fields of Mercury and Venus as spheres around the dilatancy zone of the dot point. Around us, the Earth, you see one shell, the Moon, and that glows with a bright white light. Because you're seeing the light, what it did, where it goes from the Moon to Venus. That's the distance of the actual sort of visible light. You see the 2 surfaces. And that's what's balanced between the 2. So now you see the twin-centered shock wave, the shock of the expansion of the light from Earth that went out to the 2 AU sphere, which caused a motion inside the center of the planet, of the dilation of a motion away and a sliding action with a capacitance discharge that created the power that ripped a hole in the surface instead, and that hole was plugged. And so now you can see the twin-centered shock wave of the force that's trying to break. The force must anchor, the center must anchor to the surface, and the surface must anchor to the center. Twin-centered. Center of bending, the centroid of bending must always be outside the area, the second moment of area. It's outside the mass, always. In a sphere. But in an ellipsoid, it can be inside. And so our beautiful system of Earth-centered, pulsing entity, atmosphere, inverted surface, Sun, sphere is encompassed by the ellipsoid of Mars. Mars has the most ellipsoid visible orbit because its force entity is an ellipsoid. Is that enough to build where you live? So now you go back to the rigid body at the center. So the time particle at the center of the planet does this action. There's a warm body there. A warm body lives at the center of the planet because it's alive. It's the heartbeat of the planet. It's the center. Because all that the twisting motion that's set up in the surface with the hole going around is more powerful than the expansion that creates the 1 AU sphere. Can you see? So that energy comes in, the heat, and the neutrinos come to this atmosphere, to the cavitation within the cavitation, where the inversion has occurred between the surface of water and the ionosphere. And that's the atmosphere, and that's what we breathe. And when we breathe it, the force inverts, pops back again. So there's another inversion. We invert the actual energy of the universe rotating, goes through a total transform, through the twist vortex of the surface becoming a sphere and working its out in the sphere. There, the transform of energy, when you breathe in, that force is inverted back to the original force of the rotation in the first place. A genuine angular momentum force is experienced by you when you breathe. Back where it belongs. And so, thought now exists on top of that, because there's a duration. That angular momentum has momentum. Okay, there's a force there, and you're experiencing that force when you breathe, and it's called consciousness. And the consciousness is that the bright white light that the earth emits comes from you, comes from matter, comes from us all. We all emit a bright white light. We just don't see it. We see its reflection. We see what it did, because the bright flash is the moment of consciousness. And then what did it do? But we have the momentum to see what it did. So it's an experiment, cause and effect. What did we do? What happened? What did we do? What happened? And now we take it back to where I started, changing the world. And the power of imagination and the first viscosity of light. Imagine a world where this is true, where it's proven that the Earth is the centre of the universe. A simple model based on force that already exists in historical references. The one that's hidden is Dr. Victor Levy 1906, linking to the 1993 Portland Cement Association coefficient tables. Rebuild them, and you prove it's true. So you prove that engineering is lying. Engineers has liars at its heart, and they need to be expunged. Yeah, there's the model. Can you believe it now? Believe it, please. Just believe it's true, because then it will come true, and we win. And when you wake up tomorrow, everything will be all right. I promise. Welcome to the future. Fade out.